just wanted to do a little something different. Post Genesis, there's been a lot of crazy matches. Really cool to see. I kind of got inspired to kind of talk about some matchups that I want to see in 2026, especially for the top three and also the top 10 in general. I think it's super important for top seeds to have variety who they play. If it's the same top 50 player over and over, you're not getting a variety of results. You're not giving people the chance to potentially get that upset. We saw some pretty early upsets in winner's bracket with Kadoran over Moki, Swift over Cody, Rat Monster over Zane, etc. Like ensuring people have a chance and putting them in that path to see if they can is really important. So for Zane, there's a couple matchups that are very surprising. As far as I know, has never played Faust. Now, I don't think this would be very challenging for Zane. Faust is, I think, the year that Faust beat J-Moog, I think, was like top 40. Faust is not, revolutionary puff. I'd say that Zasa has been a very good puff recently. They went to the same tournament, but didn't quite match up due to Day Tripper. But I think just showing a little bit different style and showing that he's good at the matchup wouldn't hurt. Morse code. I think that would be an awesome matchup. Now, they haven't played since 2019. Zane had a Samus problem, lost to Hugs a few times back in early, or, like 2017, 2018, when Zane was just starting to be a top player. People struggled with Samus some. I think Duck as well. But seemed to do pretty well against Morse Code. But Morse Code has that ability to be good players. 2 wins on Cody, 2 wins on J-Moog. Also, plays against Ossify a decent amount. They're both Michigan. So I think with Marth experience, Morse Code could definitely provide a challenge for Zane. And I think that would be a really awesome set. There's a few Ice Climbers in here. I know that Zane wouldn't be thrilled to play Ice Climbers, but Slug, Nikki Moff, I think those will all be very interesting. Chem, a tri-state Fox that's very solid. Spark, Sheik. I think Zane has become very, very good at the Sheik matchup, but I think having different styles would be good. Ginger and Magi, so got some Falcos, and I think that'd be very interesting. Especially Ginger's back and doing very well. Fiction went Sheik at that one. What was it? Redemption Rumble, I think. And had a really close set. I was like, is Fiction about to win with this crusty green Sheik, bro? But it was super close. Ossify, those guys Zane has some really great Marth Dittos between Rishi at that one, Big House, Ossify, M2K. There's some Marth Dittos that are just really, really cool to see. Meds, speaking of Marth Ditto, I don't know if it would be. I think that's one of the things where it's kind of like a Fox Falco thing for co-mains, but Meds is like a Fox Marth co-main. So I think it might be a Ditto. It might be Fox Marth. I'm not sure. I think that'd be interesting to see. They haven't played in over a year. And Plup, of course, always going to deliver. Plup's been Rivals 2 / stream guy, so I don't know. But yeah, and obviously trying to avenge the losses from last year. Moki and Junebug being a little bit more peculiar losses. And also lost to Cody again for 17th at Genesis. And Rat Monster. That's been a big thorn in Zane's side. These mid-tiers would definitely be a challenge. Other matchups hasn't faced too often. Crudo, STJ, Salt, Joshman, and Wizrobe. I mean, it's been like half a year, so it's not crazy, but I do think it'd be interesting to see, especially Josh Man may not be entering much after this year. And so Josh Man, I think, really wants that set win. And, giving opportunities to show, your teammate who is really motivated, I think could be really interesting. Now, Cody. Cody is saying that he's going to be entering a lot less unless he finds a sponsor, and I think he's committed to Full House. Likely entering some stuff, but not as frequently. I want to see Cody play some of these sets. Rap Monster, I think that Rapham is good at the Fox matchup. I think his best wins are against Cheek and Marth with Crudo and Zayn. Does have an SCJ win, but a lot of losses alongside that, and has some struggle against Puff. But I think that Rap Monster has a lot of experience against Foxes. Has beaten like Panda, Day Tripper a ton, a lot of different Foxes. So I think that this would be a very interesting set. Quang, Kyle McNadator doesn't enter very much, but Cody does have a Bing loss and did play against Junebug. So I think that this would be interesting. And if Quang is not going to enter, then Dial M, just sub him right in. I think that'd be really cool. Never played J2. Now, we saw very recently that Cody had a Pikachu loss. Now, I think I saw he was like 14-1 against Axe. So I don't think this is a bad matchup for Cody. I think it's a matchup that can surprise you. Pikachu can definitely get some tail spikes and get some early kills and be a little bit crafty and overshoot Nair and all that kind of stuff. Like there's some tricky things, and J2 definitely is a modern version of a lot of Pikachu stuff. So I think that'd be interesting to see. Crike, they haven't played Cody since 2018. I think that'd be interesting. Another dual main. I think a little bit more Marth than Ices, but Cody has lost to Nikki before, and very good against Marth. So maybe we would see Fox versus Ices. Maybe we see Fox versus Marth. I think that could surprise Cody for having to prepare for two potential matchups. Hasn't played S2J. They used to have a rivalry for being like who was third during COVID times. They haven't played offline since 2023. And I mentioned Bing earlier. That'd be important to see the run back, I think. And Ossify, another Fox Marth. One of the staple matchups of Melee, especially with the top two being those representatives. So I think Ossify would be a good challenge for that. And then Cody's losers run avenged a lot of losses from last year. Beat Zayn, beat STJ, beat HBox, beat Salts, beat Jmook. I think, beat Wizrobe. So only Aura and Josh Man were not beat in this losers run from everyone he lost to last year. That's pretty incredible. I mean, like that just, a lot of wins. If he was going to win the tournament, he couldn't have asked for a more important losers run. Just the names and people that he's lost to. Like, it wasn't just, random top 50 players. It's like, oh, I've lost to them in the past. And so, definitely very impressive. Less common matchups. I mentioned Junebug, another DK. Hasn't played Magi in a while. Would have played Magi, potentially, if he had won that. Did play Ginger, which I don't think they had played since 2021. Because they hadn't played in Supernova. I think it was Moki that Ginger played. So, got that Ginger set going on. Because Cody's had a bit of a Falco problem. Mainly with Mango. But to show that, like, okay, all those losses have caused you to be good at the matchup, I think would be interesting against Magi. And Magi, really strong against fast fallers. So I think that'd be a very interesting set. Ben, Cody has become very solid at the Sheik matchup, overtaken Jmook in the head-to-head category. None, obviously there's a little bit of drama behind that one with the Z jump and all that, but hasn't played Amsa in a while. I think Amsa and Cody, it's very unlikely that they will cross path anytime soon, just with the frequency of how much they're entering. But it used to be very Cody sided. But I think if you haven't played someone in a while, you may not be as fresh. It could be interesting. Morse Code, obviously, I mentioned earlier. I think Morse Code is incredible player, and I think that while Cody has started to kind of do a little bit better recently against Morse Code, I think Jmook had no, I think wasn't that. I might have been Plup Samus. I forget. But Cody has seen a little bit more improvement in the matchup. I think it'd be very interesting to see. Meds, I think Meds is really cool seeing how he didn't expect to be this good, but he is this good. And Fiction, I think that could be another Falco Fox. There's a mystery there. That'd be interesting. And Aklo. Remember, Aklo used to have Cody's number when Cody was so good, but then would lose his Ditto. But he has been, I think it's like 7 straight against Aklo. I do want to see that matchup again. Now, Hungrybox had a lot of losses last year. Not a lot of players that he doesn't play very much. HBox enters a lot, plays a lot of people, but he's actually never played Aura. It surprised me. I expected Aura to, have a good win and run into a Puff and then lost. But Aura doesn't really have that many Puff matchups. And so it's really unclear. I mean, HBox has had a Polish loss, a rivalry with Laud, mainly online, but also in person as well. So seeing how, Peach has been revolutionized, I don't know how much Aura, has experience against Puff. Because, CPU 0 is Arizona. That's not really close to Oregon. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how much Aura would have. I guess there's some Puffs in, the Washington, Vancouver area. So maybe some, dated experience. But I think that'd be interesting to see how that would go. Of course, Rap Monster. They've played online, but they never played in person. Rap Monster struggles against Puff, but has Puff experience. HBox, I remember, was playing Swedish Delight's Luigi and dropped a game back in 2017 or something. So I think Rap Monster could surprise him and definitely make it be a close set. Chem, Fiction, I mentioned these guys a bunch. Same with Ossify. I think that they are good for the game to be competing, and I'm excited to see them have more opportunities. And SUJ, Hungrybox has had a Wizrobe problem, and having a different style of Falcon, I think could provide for some interesting. We saw HBox versus Salt. That was a super intense set that both players felt very strongly about, with a huge pop off and a lot of frustration from Salt. Losses in 2025, there was a bunch of them. Zane, Cody, Moki, SDJ, Wizrobe, Axe, Jmook. These are the top 10 players, losses to a bunch, but also just generally very consistent. The more you enter, the more you might lose. Lost to Aklo, that's starting to happen more. That the Nikki and Maelstrom losses at Tipped Off really kind of soured Hungrybox in terms of what do you get, 33rd or something like that? That's pretty low. And so I can understand why there was frustration, but Maelstrom has Eve experience and just generally a good player. Nikki, solo battle experience, and also just if Icy grabs you, you're near the edge, especially when you're so light. Junebug, they played a few times. They played in that show match and other things, but I think that a proper whether it be a different DK, if it's Quang or Dial M or something, I think that Puff DK is very interesting because it's hard for DK, but his back air is really good range and keeps the Puff honest because it's a similarly ranging back air and very light character as well. Crudo and Laud, I think there's matchups that theoretically Hungrybox should be strong in, but you never know. Magi, you don't see Falco versus Puff much, and I think that that's it's definitely not as clean of a matchup. It's more chaotic, but I think it's really cool. I think Yoshi's is a huge equalizer, and that is a huge counter pick if a Falco can just shine off the top at like 40%. So I think that seeing just generally a Falco how they would do, I think would be interesting. Now lower down in the top 10, some of these players like Josh Man has had a much more rapid growth, and being from another country hasn't had as many reps in locally. So there's a lot of players that he's never beat. Of course, Zane, that's not as peculiar, but hasn't beat Slug or Nun or Moth or even some lower down ones like Malachi and Meds and SFAT and Coble and Swift having a lot of recognition, but Swift hadn't been entering for a while, so it was hard to get those ones. I think they were both at Ludwig's like LACS 5, the one, the 11 one. I forget what number it was, but they were both there, but didn't match up. But or maybe they did. These are never beat. Excuse me. Never played is Zuppy, Polish, and Ratmonster. Ratmonster I'm gonna keep bringing up, but never played Zuppy. Kind of random. Never played Polish. Josh Man has some Aura experience at like some regionals and stuff, and just generally pretty good at the Peach matchup. Polish has kind of been out of the game, but I think it'll be interesting to see. Been a while. Hasn't played people like Panda, Zamu, Kim, Spark, etc. I think played S2J. I think I forgot to take that off. I think they played a Genesis. Either way, there's been some people he hasn't played very often. Moki, never beaten Quang. Had that one loss at I think Supernova. And a couple random, like there's not that many. Moki's really filled in his win sheet or whatever. But Kamaster and Reeve, he has losing records too, which are not necessarily the highest tier players. They're solid, but and sometimes you have players that don't make it to you, and you lost when you were worse, or lost one time and they never get the chance to actually get that run back. But I think Moki versus Pikachu's would be interesting. I think we've seen Pikachu beat Foxes, not just with Swift and Cody, but also like J-Chu beat Sunsei at Tipped Off, and that really like whoa, dang, like kind of came out of nowhere. Like people knew J-Chu was good, but more so how much he entered. Hasn't played Crike and Aura. I think those would be interesting sets. Moki seems to be better at the Peach matchup than some other Foxes. But yeah, and Axe, a few people he's never beaten. Nikki and Chango. Pikachu tends to struggle in Ices and Puff matchups, so it kind of makes sense. But never beaten Chem, which Axe has lost to once before, and then also has never played J2 or Moth. Now, I don't think he's necessarily wanted to play Moth. That'd be difficult. Moth is, a little bit less consistent, but still a very solid player. And then old school versus new school in terms of Pikachu. I know Axe has played Swift. I think Axe has played OKP at Smash Camp. But that'd be interesting to see more Dittos. I like Dittos, at least on paper. Sometimes the Dittos are boring, but. And then also hasn't played J-Mook or Salt in a while. Salt double eliminated Axe at the last Genesis, and Axe and J-Mook. J-Mook was starting to do better and better, and then Axe sort of kind of brought it back, but it's been a little bit. And then the last members of our top 10, J-Mook also with a very quick rise, has some losing records. Ices is a struggle sometimes. Nikki and Slug. Also a couple random ones. Losing records to some European players with Frenzy and Raiden. 404 Cray. Tri-State Falco that's doing very solidly. Maybe a Peach. KJH. Spacey Main. Never played Chudat. I know Chudat had this crazy good record against Sheiks. I think it'd be very interesting to see. I don't think he's played Bobby before. which is pretty unique in that you would expect a player who enters as much as they do to play get a decent amount of experience, but it hasn't happened, I don't think. STJ had a very meteoric rise with those Cody and HBox wins, and just generally overall solid placings. But a lot of players near the top hasn't beaten. Zayn, no surprise, Zayn's great at the matchup, but when STJ was like close in contention, I think it was like Moki, Josh Man, and SGJ were kind of vying for those 4 through 6 spots. I think a big thing holding SGJ back is that losing record of Josh Man. Now, that personal head-to-head is not everything, but certainly that is going to hold you back. If you can't beat someone close to your level, that's going to prevent you from beating others by moving on. Never beaten J-Mook. J-Mook has gone through, been forced through the fires of playing HBox over and over. So I think that if you have someone that's in a bad matchup but has had a lot of experience, they can definitely surprise you because maybe you're not used to being challenged like that. Same with Crudo. I don't know if they played very often, but and then Sunsei just beat HBox, so another person pretty good in the matchup. And Sunsei's been taking HBox close and other puffs close for a while. I remember like, what was it, Summit 10 online one? Like Sunsei still did very good. Other players, I mentioned Fiction and Chem a lot on this list. I think they haven't really had as much experience against those top level players. I think it'd be interesting to see. Kadoran, I think is, I think it's just 1-0. But SCJ has not beaten Kadoran. Now Kadoran is starting to come back. Had a pretty solid placing at Genesis. Also entered, I think it was Sunset Melee. Yeah, and I also mentioned Aura didn't have an HBox set. Hasn't had a SCJ set either. So I think SCJ theoretically is some people's run stopper. I think has beaten some other Flow Demon tiers in the past. But I think would be interesting, especially seeing both them play Aura. Aura probably not like those matchups, but I think it'd be interesting to see. And a few other people like SFAT. I was reminded of Frenzy from J-Mook, and I'd be like, huh. I think Frenzy has some solo battle experience and very solid. SFAT has had some historic HBox sets and had a 65th at Genesis, so not terrible. Also hasn't played Magi in a while, and they haven't played Salt. Salts and SCJ were both in Texas, and they played a lot. They had over 50 sets, but they haven't played since 2024. So I think sometimes if you have people that used to be in the same region and then moved, I think bringing them back together, maybe it's not always like, I understand seeing them apart, but I think it's interesting to try and bring them back together. These last two, admittedly, I was losing a little bit of steam, but Wizrobe and Lot have been around the block for a long time, so there's been only a few people that haven't beat. Wizrobe has never beaten Crudo, which, Sheik versus Falcon is difficult sometimes. Never beaten Shroomed, which I guess, like, their overlap isn't the biggest, but that did surprise me. I feel like if Shroomed enters occasionally, I'm surprised Wizrobe never actually got that win. And then Nikki, they played at Eggdog Invitational, and Nikki got that win, and I think that Wizrobe definitely has potential to get that run back, but I would like to see it again. I want to see Nikki play like everyone. I think Nikki is so cool. So I want to see Nikki play a lot more people. Lot, never beaten HBox. Now they've had online sets. I'm sure some of those went to LOD. But looking just offline, they've had Game 5s, but it's never gone to LOD. So I think that the potential is definitely there. A few of these surprised me. I understand that Falcon Peach is perceived to be pretty Falcon favored. But LOD has had a Salt problem. I think it was Low Tide City, late 2023 or something, where Salt won over LOD and Axe at a tournament. and Laud losing was pretty surprising. Like both of them losing, of course, but Laud especially was unique. And then, I mean, these matchups, Sheik, Falcon, and Puff being good against Peach, no surprise. But I think Laud definitely has potential to be someone like Jmook. Jmook is sometimes inconsistent, but Jmook's also decent in the matchup. I remember kind of came out of nowhere like Peach. I think Jmook had beaten Laud at that Breakout Genesis. I know it was a Peach of some kind, but Jmook's solid at the Peach matchup. And then Plup. I mean, he was one of the first non-gods to beat Armada, so you kind of have to be good at the Peach matchup to do that. But yeah, I want to see a lot more Melee, and I think that mixing up the matchups and having people they don't get to travel much, hopefully get those opportunities. Of course, if they lose early, or if it wouldn't make sense to seed a 10 seed at 16. Like obviously be within reason, but there's some really cool matchups that we don't see too often that I would like to see. So, all right, I'll keep up with some more data. We're kind of in a bit of a break between Melee tournaments, so I want to put out some more data. I think it's really cool to see. So, appreciate it. Hope you all have a good day.